How are you?
I'm doing great, man.
Niko salama?
Niko salama
Good
sana.
to see you.
Happy to be here, man.
You are here at what time? 11?
Yes, I left at around 11:30, actually.
11.
Yes.
So that 11:30.
Yeah.
And you're here right now. Nchi inapenda watu kama nyinyi, tulipe ushuru tujitegemee.
Shida ni kulipa ushuru, lakini sasa wengine ndio wanatumia vibaya.
Unajua zingine hata sio eti venye unasema. Zingine ni sacrifice. Inaitwa commitment. Sasa kama hiyo ya Ian, hiyo ni sacrifice for the nation. Ndio wengine wanaitwa patriots.
Patriots.
You see again they say, sijui Gen Z hawajitumi. But I'm proof that Gen Z unajituma.
Kwanza uko kadi.
Niko kadi mimi.
Kwa sure.
Ai, niko kadi mbaya. Nisijika uko kadi.
Na Baba, I've elected enough presidents.
You might have elected enough presidents, but 2027 might be the turning point. So.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
True.
And you must keep checking your status, because otherwise leo uko ndani, kesho uko nje.
Wewe kwanza uko kadi. Because I hear there are things happening in the system.
2 weeks ago nilikuwa ndani.
Ulikuwa ndani.
Juzi nikijiangalia nikajikuta siko ndani.
Ukajipata uko nje.
Sasa leo lazima nihakikishe niko kadi na niko
so
ndani.
In short, wewe uko kadi.
Niko rada.
Uko kadi.
Mambo uko rada sasa account. Lazima ukue kadi.
Wewe lazima
ukue. I think the whole thing ends on is it 28th of April?
Yeah.
So
but continuous voter registration is ongoing. You can register at any given time. So it's just the enhanced exercise.
Voter registration process.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation, the Situation Room. We are here to ensure that conversations that matter continue to hit our airwaves. Already I've introduced individuals that will be spearing these conversations ahead. In the meantime, I want to say good morning to everybody who's making this possible. Evelyn, EVE, asante sana. We have Derek on the other side as well. Asante sana. Evelyn, who else is there? Please, waseme majina zao mbio so that we salimia them as we move. Yeah, we have who? Kolo as well is in the house, the technical guy. Asante sana. Juliet as well, the new kid on the block as well. Asante sana from the other end. And on the socials and digital team, we have Joylene Barasa as well, who is there, or commonly known as JB, but Joylene Barasa is there, making sure that everything on the internet is doing well. Mutanu as well is there on the news desk. We have Sheila Tembur and Lea Ubaga, as well as on Radio Maisha team. We have Esther Kirong and everybody else who's making this a success. Tunasema asante sana for being here, as well as those who are joining us online. I shall be getting on that to just say good morning to you. But let me let you know some of the conversation that we'll be having this morning at exactly 7 a.m. We'll be having a discussion on with the NCAC director. So NCIC CEO Dr. Daniel Mutegi Giti will be having a discussion around holding leaders accountable for their utterances. It is a problem that this country continues to grapple with year in, year end, because for a very long time you find alarming utterances that come out of the political class, and one asks the question, when will this just end? Because we can't afford not to talk about it, because you remember 1992 clashes in the country, the Madoadoa conversation that was there. Then you come to 2007 as well, and even right now you hear the way the political class talking at each other, and it does not look pretty. It does not look pretty. So we shall be having that discussion at 7 a.m. And at 8 a.m., we'll be having Dr. Patrick Obath, who is a consultant, mining, oil, and gas. Guess what we're talking about? The Strait of Hormuz. If war persists, a global shakeup, a global economic shakeup. So if the war persists, then what must we do? What must we do to get out of the mess that we find ourselves in, right? So we have G2G, sour. We know that fuel prices has gone up, but that notwithstanding, government has reduced VAT to 8%. Mafuta imeshuka na shilingi 10 na shilingi 9 respectively. But what exactly do we do in the event that we can't go to the Middle East, we can't use the ocean? Do we look inwards? We have Turkana. What are we doing with that technology? Do we connect ourselves to Nigeria so that we have locally led solutions to local problems? Conversations that must be had. So Dr. Patrick Obath will be having that conversation with us, because I know he's also served as chairperson at KEPSA, so he would also open our eyes on when fuel prices go up, what that means to the business sector as well. And at 9 a.m., it is a conversation with you, our listeners, the people who make this possible. It is us having this conversation with you on fuel prices, hike reactions from Wananchi. The opportunity to talk to us, because fuel has gone up, fare has gone up, cost of living will go up. What's your response to the leadership of the country? What's your response? What's your feeling? What's your raw, authentic energy and response to what it is we find ourselves in this morning? That will be between 9 and 10 a.m. So get yourselves ready. And also to remind you that we are streaming live on standardmedia.co.ke. We are live on KT, and we are live on our YouTube. We are live on our app. That is, you can get it on Play Store and App Store, Spice FM, so that you can be with us everywhere you are across the world. We are live on X. We are live on Twitter for the likes of Osido, millennials, inaitwa X. I know you know it as Twitter. We're also live on Instagram.
Iko tu sawa.
Pia tu.
You're on Instagram?
Yes, I am.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So when I say IG kidogo utapotea, but anyway, it is.
Sasa unajua, most of my friends are also Gen Z, so I am a well-informed millennial.
Millennial.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So,
As you should.
as you
Right?
should. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, let's say good morning to those of us who are online. We start with Kiaria Peter. Good morning from Mombasa. You have to train your mind to be stronger than your emotions, or else you'll lose yourself every time. Good morning to you, Carrier. Joseph Okondo, good morning. Spice FM team tuned in from Chuda in Mombasa. Good morning. Kitsa Daniel, good morning. Good people, have a blessed Thursday. Have a blessed one today as well. And Bernard Nyaberi, if fuel passes through Kenya to Uganda and to Uganda, and in Uganda it's cheaper than in Kenya, I think it's about time we stopped wastage in government to cushion Mwananchi. Also remove some of the oil taxes. We're just doing some math in the morning, Kitani, and per litre, how much does a Kenyan pay in terms of taxes?
Around 82 shillings.
82 shillings, So if, assuming you're paying now 200 shillings, if you remove 82, so fuel goes for 120. So then 82 shillings is what you're giving to government as taxes per litre. So if your fuel tank goes for 70 litres, do the math, how much you're paying in terms of taxes. Kama ni mtu kwa jaza gari, so that's around 6,500 that you're paying in terms of taxes. Just so you know. Now, good morning, Spice FM. It's a new day. Thoni kubaya, mbona wafisadi wanafunikwa na kukingwa? Henry accepted. It's the big question in the room as well. And Mark Mwangi, good morning. Can we now confirm who determines petrol price? I used to believe, just as Dindi does, we have a window to bring down prices further. That's a big conversation, because yesterday the president was in a rally, a roadside declaration, tunashukisha iyo fuel, your VAT from 16 to 8. Who determines the prices of fuel? Is it the president on a random Wednesday at a public rally and just declares that? What's the role of EPRA? What's the role of National Treasury? What's the role of KRA in all this discussion? It's interesting that president would just decide to lower VAT. Now, Desmond Ortiz, to increase the fuel prices, did the government have to make a lot of noises? Or Iran war, or fuel scandals, or fake CS Wandai, or empty tanks in the country? Si waongeze tu bei once tuzoe. Hii mambo ya kutupatia story mingi achana nayo. Ongeza tuzo. We will adjust. That's according to Desmond Ortiz. And Drip Session, good morning and a very happy Thursday to you. Dr. Van Vick, good morning, tuning in from Chuda, Mombasa, good morning. To you, Dolly Lux, good morning. Team Spice, good morning. To you, Erica Ward, good morning, guys, good morning. To you, Leo. Hello, Aseto and Jesse. Jesse is not in, so today we have Ian and we have Kevin, right? Those are the ones who are here. And good morning to you, gentlemen. Mko sawa?
Tuko fresh.
Wacha sasa tuulize swali. Yenye nimeulizwa hapa. History in the motherland has repeated itself in less than 5 years. The same narrative Ruto was spreading at the start of Ukraine-Russia war is the same being repeated now. Do you agree?
Of course I do.
Do you agree?
Of course.
Yes, because I remember hiyo mambo ya Ukraine sisi hapana ambia sisi wewe tuambie jinsi utashukisha bei ya mafuta. Today the president found himself in ile vita ya Iran. Yeah. So guys are saying, don't tell us about the Iran war, tell us how you're going to reduce the cost of fuel. You know, in 5 years, it's happening to him. Interesting, you know. And we have DJ CJ Kenya. Good morning, Spices. Good morning to you. Christina, good morning. How are watu walitishwa na protest threats? Then they decided to reduce. By the way, did they expect us to clap? Did they?
Of course not.
Yeah.
Not really, but you see, again, at the end of the day, despite the reduction that, EPRA announced, the concerns whether, that is enough. So it's all another conversation altogether.
Yeah, because many say it went up by 40. You've reduced it, you've removed 10 shillings. So it's at 30.
Yeah.
You went up by 26, you've reduced 9. So we're talking about around 16, 17. So is it enough?
Dennis, one thing that really bothers some of us is economic stability.
Yeah.
And particularly around policy formulation and how to sustain these policies. So what really determines when you push it to 30 and then you reduce it by 9?
Yeah.
Must it be the president? And the viewers are asking very critical questions in terms of must the president speak, and how do we sustain the political talk vis-a-vis the technical aspects of sustaining the challenge that we have. And, oil really is the main driver of major economies. Remember, this is happening in another jurisdiction, but it's affecting us to a level where people are asking, if oil passes through Kenya and it goes to Uganda and it is cheaper there, why must we pay double or whatever amounts that we are paying,
Because I was also looking at the cost of fuel in Tanzania and Uganda, and we pay around between 16 shillings and 19 shillings more compared to our partners, yet they get the fuel from Kenya.
Yeah.
So that is another concern.
Yeah.
It means there's something in between that is happening that we don't understand.
Yeah, and I think the cheapest in the region is Burundi. Burundi, I think they're operating at 140 something, so that's what's happening in the region, yet that fuel passes through Kenya. But remember, Uganda's fuel reserves are actually in Kenya, at the coast. So you see, now with the shocks that you're experiencing across the world, they could be cushioned because they already have reserves in the country. So while we grapple to go buy it right now, because in Kenya, it seems as if it's hand to mouth when it comes to fuel. You buy it now because you need it now. Them, they have reserves. So that could cushion them in one way or the other. So that's another conversation as well, and the need of investing in infrastructure, fuel reserves in the country. So
even the spirit of, EAC, when it is cheaper there and Kenyans are paying more here, why can't we have, trade pact conversations to probably get into pacts with Uganda, and then we rationalize the costs and say, okay, because we have your reserves and we are paying more, it's affecting our economy. Can you give us certain discounts? Then we get it from them as a reverse, osmosis model, where it goes to Uganda, it comes back to Kenya.
And I think even bigger conversation, I even think bigger conversation would be as a region, right? How do we look at fuel as a driver of economy as a region?
Precisely.
Then we say we will put up reserves, say, in Mombasa or in Dar es Salaam, right? So that is what pushes our economy. In terms, whenever we have such crises because we can't control them, we are cushioned. So that's, again, another challenge to the regional leaders to see on how to address that. Let's continue with our saying good morning to our people. Good morning, Spice Team, watching from Portland, Oregon. Increase in fuel to 206 a litre. Then some hours later, make a declaration that you have lowered the price to 190. That's playing games. That's according to Mashari and Jerry. And thank you for being here from Portland, Oregon. And looking good, guys. I love what I'm seeing. That is Bernard Nyaberi. Asante sana. So again, what tunajaribu. Yeah. And Tibbs Muge, good morning, Spice team. Ukraine just captured a front position using drones only. Guys, the future is here. Are you ready? We are here, and I think that also speaks to in terms of security and how technology is changing the game. We also have a good morning, Team Spice. Do we use paraffin or for motorcycle, and by who advises the president? That is Nyakundi Manyo. Kerosene? No, because motorcycle is just petrol. It's just gasoline, right? It's just gasoline.
Or electric.
Or electric, yes.
I think his concern comes from what the president said yesterday.
Yeah.
I think he alluded something in connection to that.
Yeah.
Do you reckon the president has ever been on top of a bike? Not because he's giving it to Kenyans for empowerment, but genuinely being on a bike because he's using it.
Well, okay. I can't tell because you see, there's a story about how he, was a chicken seller, how he used to move around selling eggs. I wouldn't know what he used then. Probably I was not yet born.
Okay.
So I wouldn't really understand. Osido would be probably in a better place to tell us if
he said he was, alikuwa anasela anauza kando ya barabara.
Yeah.
So I imagine that it was just hawking, like walking left, right, and center.
So I would not, and I'm not throwing shade, but I would not be surprised that he doesn't know what a motorcycle uses because he's never been on one.
Probably he was just trying to justify because during the campaign period, he was heavy on watu wa boda boda and mama mboga. So he's also trying to, sort of sell that narrative again.
So in short, you're just trying to say that the president, even when selling his agenda to people of boda boda, did not understand what it means for a boda boda rider to have that boda boda moving.
It's a possibility.
Yeah. So, yeah.
But it's also possible that he doesn't understand.
Yeah.
He's a busy man.
He's a busy man.
I wonder whether President William Ruto even rests. Like, hata kulala tu. At this point, he's here, akopali.
I think
the whole day,
we should petition the president's doctor. Please, please prescribe 8 hours a day for the president to
lock him in a room. Lock him somewhere. Let him rest.
So 8 times 1. 8 times 1.
Dennis, rest comes with many things, including proper opportunity to think.
Yeah.
Because if your brain doesn't rest, there are things you'll be saying, and people will be like, hey, huyu jamaa ametoka wapi? Like, are you with us? And then you'll be like, Osido, are you awake? But yet you are actually present. Just because your brain is tired.
Yeah. Nakusikia, I hear you. So government doctor, please hear us. Peris Mudhoni, good morning, Spice. My Spice, Dennis. Hey, tuko salama sana. Tuko salama, and good morning to you as well. And Wanda, good morning from Toronto. Hi, Aseto, Mr. Osido, and welcome, Ian. I'm loving the suits. You guys look sharp. Question, do you think Kenya will have an internet blackout during the elections? I thank you, first of all, for your compliments. And do I think so? I don't think so, man. If we ever get there, I'd want to be optimistic that we'll not get there because of the progress we've made when it comes to our elections and the right to express ourselves, communications and all that. So I don't think we'll get there. If we get there, it's unfortunate, but I'm optimistic we'll not get there.
Yeah, possible that we will not get there because it's been tried and tested. Remember during the Gen Z demonstrations, we had some slight shutdowns and within hours, the internet was back up. So, of course, if it's happening in other neighboring countries, Kenya still is prided to, be standing tall. So we hope that we'll continue to set good examples, including not shutting down internet when the context is very difficult.
Sure. So let's go quickly and say hi to everybody. Good morning, Spencer from tuned in from Nairobi, feeling the impact fully. That is Real Kimani, Sang Abrahams. Good morning, Spice team watching live and clear from Adelaide, Australia. Barry Adelaide and John Mureithi. 21st is 21st. Tunashuka hivo. Hakuna vitu wamepunguza man. and Tuesday is Tuesday. Simon Kibiru, good morning, Spices. Waiting for very inspiring conversations this Thursday morning. Looking forward to that as well. Joe Mungai from Bonnie Lake, Washington. Hello, Spice crew. Only in wash societies do we have public transport services in the hands of private entrepreneurs. That's a good way to look at it. And the president needs to shut up for 2 weeks and let his CSs work. Anyamaze 2 weeks pekee. This guy interferes with everything. Hadi kazi ya Chief John Mureithi amesema leo wacha ongee imtoke. And mtu fulani hamjambo, si kila mtu kwa studio anakaa, si kila mtu kwa studio anakaa CEO. Looking sharp, gentlemen. Asante sana.
Thank you.
Mtu fulani nashukuru. And proudly Kenyan, good morning wenzangu. Ati we should clap, mafuta imerudi chini kibei. Our neighbors mafuta iko down low. By the way, VAT can only be lowered by Parliament. That is what Andrew Washira says. So that brings forth conversation around the role of Parliament. And Andrew Washira, Vancouver, iko locked, gentlemen. Before we go to the conversation and everybody else who's listening in on terrestrial radio, tunasema asanteni sana for being here. And Sarah Kilonzo, the final person. Good morning, gentlemen and Spice family. We're being full. Breaking news, very confused government. Yeah. We are in Djibouti, a beautiful country, right? A country that has a population of 1.1 million. They just got off an election, elected their president for the 6th time. It is a country that hosts several military bases for other countries. So US is there, France is there, China is there. They were colonized by the French, so they speak French. They are majorly a Somali language-speaking nation. But as well, because of their proximity to Ethiopia, we also have individuals in there who are speaking Amharic because of intermarriage, because of business and all that. A proper mixture of what makes that country be what it is. But let's go to the proverb this morning. Peace is better than victory. Peace is better than victory. We start with Ian. How would you interpret that?
You see, at the end of the day, and I'd probably think about it in the context of there's a contest somewhere, and eventually there's a winner, there's a loser, either ends. But at the end of the day, what brings both together is the peace.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, if there's a winner, of course, he emerges victorious.
Yeah.
How you take it, also determines whether peace, prevails.
Prevails, yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it's about bringing everybody together. So
you're never wrong. Your interpretation is always right here.
Yeah.
Osido, how would you interpret it?
An adult is never wrong. But anyway, so peace is better than victory. In my view, the basic response is let's just allow peace to prevail. So I know you can win, you can beat me, you have all it takes. Nimekubali. Yeah. Let's just have peace. I know I can beat you, but I don't want to get involved in this contest. Yes, I have everything that it takes to be declared a winner, but I just want us to be peaceful.
Yeah.
So have your victory. Let's have peace.
I look at it where there is conflict, every other side wants to win, right?
Yeah.
So this person is fighting to win, this other person is fighting to win. If a side chooses to stay away and say, you know what, ni sawa nimekubali, the other side that would be supporting him tends to cool down and allow the other person to just rule or whatever. I would give you an example of what is happening today in the Democratic Republic of Congo. So we have M23 on this side and we have the government. They are all fighting to win. You get, and with that, then we see constant conflict that never seems to end. But if both individuals choose to sit down and say, you know what, fine, we've fought for a very long time, we've not achieved this peace we're looking for. Let us take another direction. Not everyone to fight to win, but let us strive to be peaceful, and from there, everybody will be winning. That is fine. Right. Interesting to see how our guest will be interpreting that. Yeah. In the meantime, we take a short commercial break. We'll be back with the weather and traffic.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to your day.
off as excuses. As pump prices climb past 200 shillings and his government leans on global war pressures, he previously dismissed the irony is stock. The latest fuel shock is squeezing households, slowing business activity and tightening inflation's grip. A president who promised to crush cartels and lower costs now presides over rising taxes, shrinking incomes and growing public anger. A full circle moment. So that story is on pages 4, 5, 6 and 7. Now, in 2022, President William Ruto said, the people telling us about Ukraine and Russia are also telling us that there is no shortage of fuel. They are also trying to blame oil marketers. They are even conflicted on the reasons why we have an official crisis in the country. That is way back in 2022. Now, let's go to 2026. And there is a war in the Middle East and the cost of oil has skyrocketed everywhere. However, here in Kenya, we have concrete plans to ensure that we moderate the cost. We have dedicated 6.5 billion shillings to stabilize prices through subsidies. We have also reduced VAT and have enough fuel. That is President William Ruto on the 15th of April, 2026. Full circle moment.
Yeah, indeed. And I was listening to one of the clips, where he was campaigning on top of a vehicle, and they said those in power do not understand what the people in the lowest kind of life are going through, and they need some awakening. So one would wonder now, does he understand what the people in the lowest kind of life are going through? And I'm talking about the Mama Mbogas that he alluded to, the border people, because those are among the most affected people. So, I mean, again, like they say, double speak master.
I mean, it falls straight into the script, because there's what you said before, and you see, internet never forgets. People never forget what it is you said. That the president would even make. As a president, you're not allowed to make some mistakes in terms of what powers border, which is a campaign slogan that you used at the time. You're not allowed to make such a mistake, assuming that it uses kerosene. I'm sorry. That was your campaign promise. That was your campaign rhetoric for over 5 years. You know what I mean? Because the president campaigned for 5 years. Let's be honest. You can't afford to make such a mistake. So that just goes to tell you that he's not in touch with people on ground. But then again, now that we see it here and now global pressures, geopolitics is forcing him to take this stand, does it mean that back then he was just playing politics?
Dennis, if we were to expect something better and much more bigger, President William Ruto should be the person to deliver those things.
Yeah.
Because he's a gentleman who's been in power in terms of as a legislator for a better part of his youthful life. Served in some very powerful, government dockets, ministries. Served as a deputy president for 10 years, and now is president, almost half his term.
Yeah.
Honestly, the people that you preside over as president expect something much more better.
Yeah.
That when you say it, you do it. And that when it is done the wrong way in a manner that people, revolt over, you sit back and listen. And then you're able as president to provide solutions.
Yeah.
But what we see happening, particularly from the headline, double speak master, given the context of our government, this is confusion. And especially because when EPRA now decides to set their prices, they regulate, the sector, Parliament passes those laws. I'm sure this morning there are people who are going back to ask, by the way, what did the president say and how are we navigating around it? Because ultimately he will have to call someone and ask, ulisikia venye nilisema juu ya Land Rover? Ushafanya hivyo? Because we are a country that plays with the rules. And the president must be willing and ready, to also play by those rules, and that the people who work for him, because of course everyone around him works for him, should be able to take his word for what it is.
Yeah.
This is confusion, and it is confusing.
You've actually raised something that is very critical because, the president is 59 years old today. Right? He's 59 years.
Happy birthday.
No, not today. Like as happy birthday to
comes,
him.
yeah.
It's 59.
In advance.
Ni December.
Any December, yes.
Yeah,
So if the president is 59 and we know he got into this political space YK92, so that takes us to 1992.
Yeah.
So that would mean that the president has been in this political space for around 34 years.
Sure.
right?
Sure, yeah.
So if we just do 59 minus 34, so 25 years is what President William Ruto has not been in this space. So anyway, now leads us to Swali. All this time he's been in this political space. One would hope that in 2026 he's understood exactly what Wananchi need. That when geopolitics plays, that he's able to know what exactly to do, what exactly to say, and how to address these. I reckon that, and this is coming from a good place, we have played politics so much that we do not know when to sit down and implement the promises we made.
Yeah.
It was all about, we will make all these promises to get to power, but how to achieve those or make those come to life, there was never plan. Plan was to get to power, but anything after that, zero.
And remember that President William Ruto is one of our presidents that has had the biggest number of advisors.
Oh yeah,
including in this sector.
Illegal advisors. Because
of course, the court now declared them, irrelevant. But that should speak something. Because an advisor has some technical expertise, and so the person being advised or the advisee needs to perform better. Because that is why you have advisors, so they know probably better than you do.
Yeah. But there are two things into it. One, it is true that he has had the biggest number in terms of advisors, but two questions. One, does he listen to the advice being given? And number two, what is the quality of the advice being given? Because, I mean, some of the people,
critical.
When you look at what some of the advisors even say or post on their socials, it is,
that's
baffling.
Yeah. Anyway, TSC has halted water deductions as offices are broken into nitrate. So there is that issue that was covered by the Standard, KTN. Lennox Sengre bringing out the situation at Kewota, and now TSC has broken deductions into the offices. Now, senators probe crumbling health system in Baringo. Kijana, nini shida iko nyumbani? Kijana ya Baringo, shida iko gani nyumbani?
Hii story inaniguza bana. You see, my mom was a teacher, and probably she's a victim of this.
Yeah.
Probably that money would have gotten me a pair of sneakers, But she was, duped into. But I mean, it's good that TSC is.
Oh yeah, because Kewota directly talks about your mom.
Yes, it does.
Yeah. So this is personal.
It probably has costed me a watch, pair of sneakers.
Anyway, let's hope that justice will be served and that teachers get to have a solution to that. Now, young learners display on stage key CBE pillars as well. That is in the ongoing drama festival. And Kenya jails Chinese ant smuggler for 1 year. So a Chinese national was sentenced Wednesday to 1 year in prison and fined by a Nairobi court for attempting to smuggle thousands of ants out of Kenya, a lucrative trade exposed in East Africa last year. Imagine, you know where China is? Yeah? This man came to Kenya and found ants, thousands of them, and was shipping them back to China. Imagine a business opportunity if you decide to do it the right way.
They say the insects are mostly destined for China, and of course they say each goes for around $100.
A single ant.
Good money.
So if you have 1,000, anyway, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So we have soaring fuel costs. Spark claims Ruto is driving the economy to the ground. Transport costs rise sharply as pump prices climb past 206 in part of the country. And allies defend the government even as economists warn of deeper strain ahead. We shall be looking at some of these stories deeper in after you look at the Daily Nation and you look at the Star. So, Osido, you have Daily Nation?
Yes, I do. So on the Daily Nation, pumping up pain.
Okay.
And there is a relief. President says state has released 6.5 billion shillings subsidy and cut VAT on fuel by half to cushion Kenyans. But then the backlash is that there is a sharp rise in fuel prices by 40 shillings and 28 per litre of diesel and petrol, respectively. This will force households already struggling with runaway living costs amid shrinking incomes to shoulder a heavier burden after key sectors of the economy signaled higher prices that will inevitably be passed on to consumers. Meanwhile, the opposition leaders have demanded implementation of sweeping tax reliefs and immediate termination of government-to-government oil import deal, alleging some powerful figures were profiteering from it and vowed to mobilize nationwide protests if demands are not met. So on pages 4, 5, and 6, you can be able to have a look at that story, including some of those demands that the opposition leaders sent insofar as the threat for demonstrations are concerned. And then on page 2 of the Daily Nation, there is a regulator caught off guard in SIC scandal. So this is the law requires members of a cooperative society, board members to exercise prudence and hold members liable for losses. So the Department of Cooperative Development has been caught flat-footed in the financial problems facing SIC Investment Cooperative, despite one of its employees sitting on the troubled society's board of directors. So this is, remember, the Standard is talking about K-Water, and here we have SIC, another scandal. Legislators back bill to fund informal schools. So there's a story there by Samuel Owino that says that lawmakers have backed a bill seeking to formally recognize and fund alternative provision of basic education and training schools that are targeting millions of learners currently excluded from government support against 100% transition. So there's a story on upbed schools and what the bill seeks to do. On page 3 of the Daily Nation, Treasury PS faces jail over 140 million debt. So the Principal Secretary of National Treasury, Dr. Chris Kipto, faces a possible 6-month jail term after being found in contempt of court over the failure to pay a technology firm more than 140 million shillings arising from a tender awarded about 5 years ago. This can be something, right? If we have a PS facing jail over 140 million debt. Gamblers who sued betting firms over unpaid winnings. So there's another big story there on page 3 on justice over the data commissioner that found demands that were made before an account is deleted excessive. Page 4 of the Daily Nation. Rising fuel costs spark wave of price increases. I think this is one of the biggest things talk of town right now. So on that story, there is a picture of a boda operator that is ferrying passengers on bicycles on Kenyatta Avenue in Nakuru City. They reported a surge in business after high fuel costs pushed their motorcycle counterparts to higher fares, pricing out many customers.
Yeah.
The opposition, of course, same story on issuing demonstrations threats over fuel crisis and tax waivers on page 5. Page 7, a story on health, how kidney syndicate lured youths shortchanged them. So the committee, there's a story of a committee that has flagged a critical national shortage of transplant specialists with fewer than 20 transplant surgeons across the country. So Dennis, I think that should be it. Now page 8, where we have another story on SHA. And unions are saying that SHA is not working for us.
Okay.
So there's a CEO there, a photo of the CEO of Social Health Authority, Dr. Mercy Mwangangi, speaking during the launch of Usalama Cover on April 12. And so there is a union of Kenya civil servants has accused the Social Health Authority of unilaterally and illegally altering medical insurance contracts for thousands of government workers. Wow.
Well, yeah, everybody seems to be complaining about SHA, but it's a problem that we hope will be sorted out, because everybody who's paying for SHA deserves to get the services that they seek. Like,
yeah, definitely. And
looking at you have the Star?
Not really, can get a copy. But also, still, I think the other two stories on the Daily Nation in regards to the issue of zoning, and another one on an audit exposes a fraud, another fraud by the Auditor General. But let's have a look at the Star on the front page again. It's the issue of fuel, and they say fuel price hike drives up family budgets across Kenyan economy, and that is a story on pages 4 and 5. And again, that is also in regards to the VAT being slashed or revised from 16 to 13%, and then almost 24 hours later, slashed again to 8%, which, was the percentage before the same government decided to double it to 16%.
Yeah.
And of course, they talk about the new reality. They have images of passengers struggling to board public service vehicles. Remember, again, PSV said they will be hiking bus fares by around 25%. But again, on the front page of the Star, they say alarm as SHA failures, acute understaffing cripple hospitals. So this issue of SHA seems to be, cutting across, because we also have it on the Daily Nation, and this is in regards to Kajiado County. On page 2 of the Star, it's yet again a pledge by the head of state, and they say Ruto pledges relief as fuel prices surge. That is a story that you can get on page 2. On the same page, they talk about, the procurement process, and they say Kalonzo Gachagua team demands tax cuts, CS's ouster in fuel price hike fury. Remember, the CS for Energy, that is Opio and I, maintains that he will not resign regardless of what happens. He maintains his innocence. But again, remember, like yesterday, the story was alluded to in one of the local dailies in regards to whether the substandard fuel did indeed get into the market, because he, while submitting before the National Assembly Committee on Energy, he said that fuel did not get into the market. Yeah. But a day later, the acting KPC MD did say that, the fuel was blended with whatever was in stock. So the question is, did the CS lie? And if indeed he gave false information, then what next? Should he still be in office?
It wasn't me.
I didn't know about it.
I didn't know about it.
It's
no, but it speaks about critical issues, including damages that could be, meted on vehicles that probably consumed that kind of fuel, if indeed it was blended.
I think this is the time when Kenyans should just sue the government, sue the government proper, because it is the government who's meted these on you. The government needs to ensure that your vehicle is safe. That is your hard-earned money. You paid government already taxes to buy that vehicle. This is the time when, this is what I'm saying, sue. If your vehicle is destroyed because of that fuel, that's what your mechanic tells you, sue and demand for damages. That's how adabu itaingia.
Yeah, fair enough. But I love what the Star have done, because on page 4, they talk about fuel price increase hits Kenyan households as the services goods cost up. But they've done, a brief calculation and explain on how, April arrives at the cost of fuel in the country. And it's something that we talked about earlier on, because they say, per litre, and that is in regards to petrol and diesel, the VAT is 13%. And the excess duty, for example, on petrol is 21 shillings and 95 cents, on diesel, 11 shillings and 37 cents. There's the road maintenance levy, which is 25 shillings. There's the RDL, the railway development levy. On petrol, it is 2 shillings up from 1 shilling and 4 cents. On diesel, it is 2 shillings and 5 cents up from 1 shilling and 5 cents. There's the import declaration fee. There's the petroleum regulatory levy. There's the merchant shipping levy, petroleum development levy again. There are a lot of levies here, and they've listed all that, and that is the main concern, really, because there's talk about the government of Kenya looking at fuel as a tax revenue stream, which really shouldn't be the case. So they've listed that. They've given you a breakdown of the same how April arrives at the final price of fuel here in the country per litre. But again, it's a story that is recurring. And again, on page 6, they say more shocks for Kenyans as state signals hike in electricity costs. Energy PS says government taking steps to cushion households and businesses. But Dennis, it gets to a point where you feel like the government is misusing the term cushioning.
Yeah.
Because more often than not, you hear the government saying, the president saying, we are cushioning Kenyans from this. We are cushioning Kenyans from this. So, up to when will we be cushioning Kenyans?
I think as I just wrap this up, I reckon that if we have proper taxing regime that is predictable, that thinks about Mwananchi, that thinks how from the onset it is easier for Mwananchi to run about their businesses, it would be easier for everyone to say the government thought about us, that it doesn't have to come later and say we are cushioning you. Failure to do that is why we will always hear tunawa cushion kuhakikisha bei ya unga iko chini, bei ya mafuta iko chini. That is where we close the newspaper review at exactly 7 a.m. It is time for news with Leah Ubaga. Good morning.
Morning.
On the world, 94.4 Spice FM.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your